The wind cut through Powder Pass like a rusty blade, carrying dust that stung the eyes and throat. Rosa Quinn pulled her coat tighter, urging her mare, Buttercup, down the rocky slope. 6 years had passed since the war, yet her mind still ticked like a soldier's clock, always scanning shadows, always ready for danger. A scream ripped through the canyon, not a woman's cry, but the raw sound of a man in agony. Rosa's hands went to her medical bag before her thoughts even caught up. "Old habits," she muttered, pressing her heels to Buttercup's sides. At the bend of the trail lay an overturned ore wagon. 3 miners clustered around a 4th, their faces pale beneath coal dust. The man on the ground was trapped beneath the heavy iron wheel, his leg twisted at a sickening angle. "Move aside," Rosa ordered, swinging down from her saddle. The oldest miner scowled. "Woman, this ain't no place for you. Best ride into town and fetch Doc Morrison." "Doc Morrison's been dead 2 months," Rosa snapped, kneeling beside the injured man. Her fingers probed the crushed limb with practiced speed. "Unless you fancy your friend bleeding out while you argue, you'll let me work." The miner's pulse was rapid but steady. Lucky, if you could call it that. The artery was still intact. "You," she pointed to the youngest, barely more than a boy, "run to the saloon. Tell Marigold Hayes I need whiskey and clean cloths. The rest of you, lift this wheel." "Already tried," another said. 2 heavy hoofbeats thundered overhead. A rider descended the pass with reckless speed, his black stallion skidding to a halt in a cloud of dust. The man swung down in one smooth motion. Tall, broad, his presence cutting through the chaos like a knife. The miners muttered his name with relief. Elias Crow Rosa had heard of him. A former cavalry scout turned rancher, a man who carried himself like a wolf among sheep. His gray eyes swept the scene, pausing on Rosa before fixing on the wagon. "Need to cut the axle," he said flatly. "Joe, you got that hacksaw?" While the miner scrambled, Elias crouched beside Rosa. "You, the new midwife." "Midwife, nurse, surgeon when needed," she replied. "Not looking up right now. I need this man freed." Recognition flickered in his eyes. "Field Hospital, Pennsylvania, 45th, she said 3rd Colorado Cavalry." For a heartbeat, shared darkness passed between them. He nodded once. No more words wasted. Together, they worked like soldiers who had bled on the same ground. Elias directed the miners, his saw biting into iron. Rosa steadied the injured man, whispering low to keep him tethered to the living. The boy returned with Marigold Hayes herself, saloon queen in paint and silks, carrying bottles and rags. At Rosa's command, she cradled the man's head with surprising tenderness. On Elias's count, the wheel lifted. The trapped miner screamed as Rosa pulled him free. Blood poured, but not the bright fountain she'd feared. With swift, steady hands, she cut away fabric and bound the leg. "You always this bossy?" Elias asked quietly. "You always ask questions while people bleed," she shot back, never pausing in her work. A new voice cut through the wind. Cold, clipped. "That will be enough." A fine bay mare stamped at the edge of the group. Its rider was Judge Silas Beckett, coat-tailored, boots polished, flanked by 2 Pinkertons. His gaze swept Rosa with disdain. "This man is dying," Rosa told him firmly. "Then he should be taken to proper facilities," Beckett replied. "Until Dr. Morrison's replacement arrives next month, no one is authorized to practice medicine in this jurisdiction." Quote, "Next month won't save him today," Rosa said, standing to face him, blood still on her hands. "I am a trained nurse." Beckett's smile was cold. "You're nothing but a dangerous amateur. One more attempt to play doctor, and I'll have you arrested." The miners muttered angrily. Even the Pinkertons shifted uncomfortably. But Beckett only tipped his hat mockingly and rode away, his agents at his heels, leaving dust and silence behind. Marigold swore under her breath. "That man's bound for hell." Rosa wiped sweat from her brow. "Help me get him to the saloon. I need boiled water, clean sheets. We can save him." "You'll hang for it." Elias warned. "Beckett owns the law here." "Then the law is wrong." Rosa answered. I didn't survive 3 years of war to let men die for paperwork. Elias studied her a long moment, then gave a rare, grudging nod. Johnson, make a litter. We'll take him to my ranch, closer than town. Beckett's writs don't run on private land. As they secured the wounded miner, Rosa caught something troubling. His fever was rising too fast, his breath carrying a faint, bitter almond scent. She'd smelled it before, in poisoned wells during the war. She glanced at Marigold. How many miners have sickened lately? The saloon-keeper's painted face went still more than usual. Doc called it mine fever. Rosa's heart hardened. Poison. Someone was poisoning the water. The wind howled through the pass as they set off, Elias leading, Rosa riding beside the litter. A storm was brewing over Ash Hollow, of sickness, greed, and law twisted into chains. And Rosa Quinn knew she had just stepped onto another battlefield. Summer rain swept across Ash Hollow, turning Main Street into a river of mud. Rosa Quinn stood beneath the eaves of the shed that had become her clinic, arms crossed as she watched Elias Crow hammer the last boards into place. Sure about this? He asked, shirt damp with sweat and rain. Beckett won't take kindly to you setting up shop. Tom Brennan's walking on that leg I saved, Rosa replied. That's worth more than Beckett's displeasure. The clinic was little more than a one-room shed beside Elias's barn, with shelves she built herself and a sturdy table donated by Marigold Hayes. Humble, but clean. A place to work without asking permission. Besides, she added, I'm not practicing medicine, just midwife services and herbs. Nothing illegal about that, Elias snorted. Beckett won't care about technicalities. Before Rosa could answer, a rider appeared through the rain. A native woman dismounted gracefully, a leather satchel clinking at her side. You must be Rosa Quinn. She said, I am Nia Two Elks. I heard you needed proper medicines. Rosa extended her hand, surprised by the healer's calm strength. Word travels fast. My grandmother taught me the old ways, Nia said, opening the satchel to reveal bundles of herbs and jars, plants this land gives us. Medicines your Eastern doctors never dreamed of. I'd be grateful to learn, Rosa answered honestly. Field hospitals had taught her healing came in many forms. Nia's gaze sharpened. But you should know, trouble follows anyone who defies Beckett. Are you ready for that? Trouble finds me whether I'm ready or not, Rosa said. Might as well face it head on. The two women began sorting medicines together. Elias watched quietly, arms folded, his presence steady. Yet Rosa felt the weight of his eyes, measuring her determination. The sound of hoofbeats cut through the rain. Deputy Owen Pike entered, barely old enough to shave, flanked by two Pinkertons. Judge Beckett orders this place searched. Owen announced, voice uncertain. On what grounds? Elias stepped forward, hand close to his revolver. Don't need grounds. One Pinkerton sneered. Judge's orders are enough. Rosa touched Elias's arm, stilling him. Search away, deputy. You'll find herbs and midwife tools. Nothing more. The agents rifled through her supplies, spilling jars and knocking instruments to the floor. Careful, Rosa said mildly, unless you want to explain to expectant mothers why their midwife has no tools. Violation, the agent crowed, holding up her surgical kit. Nia's voice was calm but sharp. Those belong to my people. Traditional birthing tools, religious items. Would the judge like to explain to Washington why he confiscates native medicines? The Pinkertons faltered, uncertain. Owen flushed red, clearly torn, before finally snapping, leave the instruments. Miss Quinn, you're warned. One step beyond midwifery, and you'll hang. When they left, Rosa knelt to gather the scattered tools. Thank you, she told Nia. Quick thinking keeps us alive, Nia replied. But they'll be back. Beckett doesn't quit. Elias revealed a hidden space in the clinic wall, built by his father during range wars. If you've got things worth keeping, stash them here. Quote, Rosa met his eyes. Why help me? He hesitated, then said gruffly, because my sister died in childbirth. No doctor would come. A midwife might have saved her. For once, Rosa was at a loss for words. She touched his arm gently. Then, I'll make sure no other woman here suffers the same. Before either could say more, Marigold Hayes burst in, soaked to the skin. Rosa, thank God, knife fight at the saloon. Man's bleeding bad. Rosa grabbed her bag. Show me inside the saloon. Chaos reigned. Tables overturned, blood staining the floor. A young miner lay groaning, a deep stab wound below his ribs. Everyone back! Rosa commanded Marigold. Hot water. Cloths. Lias, hold him steady. He'll die, a voice muttered. Not if I have anything to say about it, Rosa snapped. She worked fast, cleaning, stitching, fighting for the boy's life, as thunder rattled the walls. By the time she tied the final knot, he was pale, but breathing, alive. The saloon had fallen silent. Dozens had watched her save him. Miners, townsfolk, even Beckett's own men. Tom Brennan's partner spoke up. Voice-breaking Doc Morrison never would have come for the likes of us. Thank you, Rosa rose, bloody hands trembling only slightly. Everyone deserves care, she said simply. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Respect, support. And Rosa knew she had just crossed Beckett's line in public. That was foolish. Elias told her quietly as they stepped into the rain. Beckett will hear within the hour. Let him, Rosa replied. 40 witnesses saw me save a life. Harder to call me a criminal now, or easier to call you a threat. Inside the clinic, Nia poured 3 cups of whiskey. 2 victories tonight. She toasted. And larger troubles, Elias muttered, but drank. Rosa felt exhaustion pull at her bones, but also something else. Hope. She looked at her new allies. Whatever Beckett planned next, she wasn't standing alone anymore. Sparkles. If you've been hooked by Rosa and Elias's fight for justice, tell me, what do you think will happen when Judge Beckett finally strikes back? Comment below before we head into the storm. The sun burned low over Ash Hollow, bleeding red into the horizon like a wound that would not heal. Rosa Quinn stood in her clinic, staring at the boy she'd saved 2 nights earlier. His fever had broken. His breath came easier. She should have felt triumph. But her heart was heavy. Elias Crow entered without knocking, hat in his hands, jaw grim. It's Beckett. He said he's called a tribunal at the courthouse. Tonight. He means to end this. Rosa set down her instruments, wiping her hands on a rag. End me, you mean? Elias nodded. Word is he's bringing witnesses. Pinkertons, deputies, even the preacher. He'll paint you as a witch doctor, a fraud. And the miners. They're scared. Beckett owns their wages, their water, their land. If they speak, they lose everything. Before Rosa could answer, the door opened again. Marigold Hayes swept in, sequins glittering, even in the fading light. Behind her came Nia 2 Elks, quiet as a shadow. Then we'll give Beckett a show. He can't silence. Marigold said, You've saved half this town, Rosa. It's time they stand up. The courthouse was packed, air thick with sweat and fear. Judge Silas Beckett sat on the dais like a vulture, gold watch chain gleaming. Beside him, 2 Pinkertons waited, like wolves. Rosa Quinn. Beckett intoned, his voice smooth as oil. You are charged with practicing medicine without license, endangering lives, and corrupting this town with false remedies. How do you plead? Rosa stood tall, hands steady though her pulse raced. I pled guilty to saving men from bleeding out, guilty to delivering children safely into this world, guilty to easing suffering when no one else would. If that is a crime, then I stand guilty. A murmur rolled through the crowd. Beckett's smile thinned. Fine words. But words do not change the law. Nia stepped forward, holding bundles of herbs. My people's medicines have healed this valley for centuries. Will you call our traditions false? The preacher shifted uncomfortably. The miners looked at each other. Beckett's eyes flashed with anger. Enough. He snapped, This is not about savages' superstitions. This is about law and order. Marigold's voice rang out like a bell. Law and order, or control and profit. You'd rather see men die than lose $1. You poison their water and call it mind fever. Rosa saw it. So did I. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Beckett's hand twitched toward his watch chain. Careful, madam. Slander has its price. Before he could speak further, the doors banged open. Tom Brennan hobbled in on crutches, leg-bound but healing. Behind him came a dozen miners, their faces hard. She saved my life. Tom declared Beckett would have let me rot. You all know it. Quote, one by one, others shouted agreement. The boy from the saloon raised his shirt to show Rosa's stitches. Mothers spoke of babies delivered safely. The room turned, voices rising. Not for Beckett, but for Rosa. The judge slammed his gavel, face crimson silence. This court is mine! Elias Crow stepped forward then, slow and deliberate. His revolver gleamed at his hip, his presence filling the chamber. No, Beckett. This town ain't yours to own. Not anymore. For the first time, Beckett faltered. His Pinkertons reached for their guns, but Elias was faster. Steel sang. The room froze. Nobody dies today, Elias said coldly. But if you draw, you'd best finish the job. I won't miss. The Pinkertons hesitated, reading the crowd, the miners, the fury in Elias's eyes. Slowly, their hands dropped. Rosa stepped closer to Beckett, her voice calm but cutting. You think law is chains. I think law is a promise to protect, to heal, to serve the people. And these people are done with your chains. The crowd erupted, shouts echoing through the rafters. Beckett rose, but his authority was broken. The deputies slipped out quietly. Even the preacher looked away. When it was over, Beckett left Ash Hollow in disgrace, his wealth unable to shield him from the tide of voices. Days later, Rosa stood outside her clinic, now bustling with townsfolk, offering wood, blankets, and tools. Children laughed as Nia taught them which herbs to gather. Marigold supervised with a smile, her sequins catching sunlight. Elias leaned against the rail, watching Rosa with that quiet, unreadable gaze. Finally, he spoke. You turned this town upside down. Sometimes upside down is the only way forward, she said softly. He studied her, then reached to adjust his belt, a rare grin tugging at his mouth. Woman, you'll drive me straight into sin, Rosa laughed, the sound ringing free under the open sky. For the first time in years, she felt not like a soldier haunted by war, but a woman building something worth defending.